Hey, Celtics fans, trivia time before we jump into today's show where we'll update the latest playoff picture and take a look at some mock draft stuff. Ooh, draft season just around the corner. When was the last time the Celtics won 50 games? Because last night, the Celtics won their 50th game. What year was it? And guess based on the 12-13 year, the 2021 year. Don't just say, 2010. I don't know if you're talking about 09-10 or 10-11. So let me know the last time the Celtics won 50 games was when. And stay tuned because later on in the video, we will reveal that answer just for you guys. You're watching Boston Celtics today. I am Harrison Graham from Chat Sports as we're coming down to the wire, folks, on the regular season of the NBA. So we're going to catch you guys up on the updated Celtics playoff picture to kick things off. Boston in the driver's seat to get that number 2 seed in the East. Picked up a big win last night to get that 50th win of the season. Miami sitting there at number 1. You got Milwaukee and Philadelphia right on Boston's tails, but Boston does have the tiebreaker there. So if they win their final 2, they will win the Eastern Conference. 6 through 10, you got Chicago, who's fading. Also, Cleveland's been struggling a bit. Brooklyn, they're getting a little bit hot. Big second half last night, which could play into this if you get the 2 seed and Brooklyn wins their first game in the play-in. If they're in that 7-8 match, you don't want to. You would face Brooklyn in that scenario, so that could be tricky. Atlanta and Charlotte rounding things out. Ideally, you'd want to avoid the Nets. Now, I think things are too tight that you can't be like, well, let's lose this game, then win that game, because if you lose a game, and then Milwaukee and Philadelphia win their final 2 or 3, then you drop to the 4 seed. You don't want to drop that far. So I think you got to play this straight up if you're Boston. If you get the 2 seed and Brooklyn gets the 7, so be it. At some point, you're going to have to beat good teams anyway. It's the NBA playoffs. Here's kind of the bracket look of things right now. Miami looking good to get that 1 seed. You got Philadelphia and Toronto, which would be the 4-5 matchup right now. Milwaukee and Chicago is the 3-6. And then Boston would be the 2 against a potential 7 seed, which, by the way, verbal note here, there's some chatter that the Celtics have a couple of guys who aren't vaccinated, and with Canada's new COVID policies, if you're not vaxxed, you can't play on the road in those games in Toronto, so something to factor in if, say, they were to match up with the Raptors in round 1. Mentioned right now they're the 2 seed, so they would face the winner of Cleveland and Brooklyn if that ends up being what the play-in tournament looks like. For now, that's the 7-8 matchup, and then Atlanta and Charlotte is the 9-10 matchup. Loser of 9-10 is done. Winner of 9-10 plays the loser of 7 versus 8 to get the final playoff spot as the 8 seed. All right, so you think of all of that. Who do you want to face in the first round this year? If you're a Celtics fan, which you better be, you're watching Boston Celtics today, who do you want to see the Celtics face in round 1? You look at the remaining schedule for Boston, very simple, at Milwaukee tonight, which is a massive game, obviously, and then at Memphis to round things out in a couple of days. The Bucks' remaining schedule, we'll take a look at Philly in a second. Obviously, that matchup tonight at home against Boston, that's massive. At Detroit and then at Cleveland to round things out, and then Philadelphia at the Raptors, then at home against the Pacers and against the Pistons. So if they win in Toronto tonight, they could win out, get to 52 wins, and they'd be feeling pretty good. Now, let's be clear. Boston versus Milwaukee tonight, winner of that, probably going to get the 2 seed. That's just how this thing is going to play out, if in my opinion. So if you win tonight, probably going to get the 2. If you lose tonight, you better win your last one because you don't want to fall to the 4 seed. So there's still a lot of things still in play here, but I think you can't be standings watching too much with a couple of games left. Maybe for their last game, they could make a decision to win or lose it based on potential first-round matchups. But tonight against Milwaukee, you got to play it straight up. You got to play to win. Who gets the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference? Type BOS for the Celtics, type MIL for the Bucks, or type PHI for the Philadelphia 76ers. Predict it for us. Who's going to get that number 2 seed? If you love the Celts, if you're a big Boston Celtics fan, this is the time to subscribe because we have the best Celtics videos here on the internet. Link is below, youtube.com/CelticsTV. The playoffs are almost here, and I, for one, cannot wait for the Eastern Conference playoffs. You're watching Celtics Today by Chat Sports. I am Harrison Graham. The college basketball season is over, which means mock draft season is here. So let's take a look at the Celtics draft outlook which obviously they're focused on this season. But the draft will be here on June 23rd. Now, Boston doesn't have a first-round pick due to the trade for Derek White, but ESPN and The Athletic released a pair of 2-round NBA mock drafts. Boston will have a pick in the 50s, depending on where they end up in the regular season. So keep that in mind here. Now, you look at ESPN's mock draft here. They have Boston selecting Matteo Spagnolo out of Italy. Just over 12 points per game, almost 4 rebounds, 2.7 assists per game as well for Spagnolo. And a really good knockdown shooter, over 45% from 3 this year, playing over there in League Serie A. In Europe, 12.2 points per game, like I mentioned, 4 boards, 3 assists. And then that elite three-point shooting, almost 50% from the floor as well. Caught a couple of clips of him. I'm not going to say I've done a deep dive, but smooth stroke, probably needs to beef up a bit. But in round 2, a European that can come in and shoot the basketball, I think that is certainly pretty good value for the Boston Celtics, and that's why ESPN went with Spagnolo to Boston in their mock draft. When was the last time the Celtics won 50 games? Trivia time, that was the question from earlier today. I'll give you about 10 seconds to get your final votes in the comments. Don't cheat. Let us know what season it was. When was the last time the Celtics won 50 games in a regular season? All right, drum roll, please. A few years ago, the 17-18 season. And remember, there's been a couple of shortened seasons since then, so it's not like that's some huge, surprise, right? Like last year, 72 games. Year before, 65, 66 games, whatever it was, when they played in the NBA bubble. The year before that, I think they won 48 or 49. And then that year before, they won 55 games. So, hey, back in the 50-win column with 50 wins so far. We'll see if they end up with 50, 51, or 52. Celtics fans, we also have a hoodie available for you guys at chatsports.com/Celtics hoodie. That link will be in the comments and in the description of this video. Be sure to check it out today for 25% off chatsports.com/Celtics hoodie. Celtics Today by Chat Sports. Harrison Graham here, and couple of 2-round mock drafts have come out. We already broke down ESPN's mock draft. Let's take a look at the Athletics. Remember, no first-round pick for Boston this year due to the Derek White trade. The Athletic going to go with Isaiah Mobley. I almost said Evan Mobley because, yes, it is the older brother of Isaiah Mobley. You're like, wait, how does that work? Well, Isaiah Mobley is a 3-year college player. Evan Mobley played with him for 1 year at USC, was one and done, got drafted, and it's been great for the Cavaliers this year. Isaiah Mobley stayed another year in college and had a pretty good season for USC. 14-8, conditioned a little bit as well as a stretch big, 35.2% from 3, so he can stretch the floor. He actually shot over 40% from 3 his sophomore year, but overall got better as a prospect, as a player. I think he will get drafted in the second round as a stretch big. I like that he can stretch and space the floor and shoot the ball from the outside. Now, he's not as talented as Evan Mobley, make no mistake, but he's got some skill. He's a guy that, maybe he spends a year in the G League as a rookie and then could work his way up to a permanent roster spot for Boston or another team, depending on where he gets drafted. So the Athletic going Isaiah Mobley in their 2-round mock draft to the Boston Celtics. No first-round pick this year for the Celtics. Which one are you most excited for this offseason? Obviously, type P for playoffs first, because that's the move right now. But for the offseason, type D for draft, type F for free agency. Which part of the offseason are you more excited for? That's why you should subscribe, because we cover it all here at Boston Celtics Today. NBA draft, free agency, playoffs, regular season, news, rumors, injury updates. We do it all. Hit that big red button and subscribe. It's youtube.com/CelticsTV.